and on the ice we're going very well with the head coach. So, making a change at that time might have been a good thing for everybody concerned. So that might be one. You talk about the culture, so you bring somebody in who, obviously, when you coach at a university level, if you end up building something that kids want to come and play for and to, I think that's something that's really important as well. And I don't know him. I've talked to him before, but I don't know him personally. But I do know kids from our neck of the woods that have gone and played out there, and they just love it out there. Again, the school, obviously the hockey atmosphere and everything that's there has been set up over a long, long time. That's why I was really looking forward to listening to him this morning, not me. I think it would have been really, really neat to hear. And I guess he's on in a couple weeks. So having said that, you bring somebody in that's got new ideas, a fresh face, 2 months to end up getting ready. It's almost like what I do is preparing teams for short term, all the things that end up going into it. So you're sort of starting from scratch. And I know he hired outside help. I believe Rocky ended up going in to help him. Rocky has been through under 17, and I believe he's done some under 18 World Junior stuff for Hockey Canada as well. So he had some ideas of things that work and don't work to end up going with it. So you throw everything together. And I think it just, like you say, it was calm before a perfect storm that it ended up things came together for them. And they did have a good team. Like watching that Memorial Cup, they were good. So it wasn't as if they were ninth place team in a league.
Very excellent take. I'm just so impressed with it and disappointed, as is everybody, that he can't come on. So I'm going to really edit this first part out, Barry, and send it to him and tell him we're not going to stop nagging him until he gets on. And, he's got so much to offer. He's recruiting. He prioritized that recruitment commitment. And I think that's really important. He puts the players first, treats them well. And I've heard the same. They just love playing for him. One of the questions I'm going to ask him is, how do you keep people happy when you carry so many players? And that's been a question I've asked of all CIS coaches. Scott Rivet with the female team carried 29 because of COVID. And he's pretty proud of what he did because no one quit. And the word is that in that scenario, which has been the case since COVID, a lot of players quit. So numbers are difficult to manage. Gardiner is able to do that over time. He recruits very well, gets good players. But obviously, with the Memorial Cup example, he's able to put things together to get the results that you need, make it work. So Barry, I'd just like to ask you a question, and it sort of dovetails into everything that we're talking about. Gardiner created a culture in a short time, and that's one of the things he mentioned. He really didn't know how it would turn out, but he knew he had to get buy-in. And so, in terms of your role, mentoring coaches in short-term competition and working with U17 national programs, what have you found that you can offer in terms of experience related to the building of a culture that leads to success?
Well, I try to, I guess, liken it to a couple things, Wally. One is we all have families, whether we're young and just starting out or older and maybe grandkids, and we've also grown up in a family. And so you try to get the staffs to get a feeling that, they're walking into something, and so are the players, that is brand new to them. And what's it going to look like for them? Like, how are they going to end up wanting to be part of that group, that organization? I mean, obviously, when you look at short term and, whether it's provincial level or national level, all the players that are trying out for it want to be there. So you've got that hook in them. But after that, if you don't provide opportunity for them to want to be there and to do things and to enjoy the experience, it's not going to end up working out very well. So no matter how well planned you are, no matter how good you are with X's and O's and tactics on the bench and everything else, you need to provide all of the other things for a group. And, you know, I guess I read a lot, and this wouldn't be new to anybody that's on the call, but when you look at what the things are that are critical to a culture, there's three things that really pop out. The first one is that they care about one another. So there's an opportunity there of caring and also of safety. That sort of goes together. The people that are in that group need to feel that they're safe. And it's funny, just listening to a podcast the other day that Inside Out Coaching, I'd given books to all of our mentors. I'd read the book and then I listened to his podcast, and it was amazing to hear him talk about how important safety was in his life growing up and being with different teams. And he didn't really figure it out until later on. But safety is critical. So when kids come to play for you, they need to feel safe that if they make a mistake, that if they do something wrong, that you're not going to cut their head off. You're not going to sit them for weeks at a time. Also safety in the fact of providing them, you know, food, shelter, all of those sorts of things. So when we do short term, that's a critical part of it, is to teach the coaches that they've got to treat them all well. The kids need to feel that they are supported with whatever they end up doing and that they're going to get an opportunity. The second one is vulnerability. And once you end up feeling safe, you start to open yourself up, and you're willing to admit that you've made a mistake. And it's not just the kids that need to do that. I think as coaches, a lot of times we feel that and again, I guess maybe whether we're male or female, but we figure that we're the alpha, that we have to have all the answers, that we know everything. And it's another one that if the coach can show the players that they're not perfect, that they're learning at the same time and they're trying to discover how to build this culture, I think that's a big part of it too. And that's typically has been the hardest part for me to get through in my work as a mentor, is having the coaches see that side of it and then allowing the kids to make the mistakes. The third one, and really important, is that no team and no group has one leader. It has to be a voice that comes from everybody, so that they all have to feel that they're included. So that word inclusiveness comes in. The easiest way to explain that, and I think I did it maybe another time when I was talking on this Skype, is with our teams, and I tried to get the under-17s to do it, and most of them did and felt success with it, is you have your leadership group. So obviously you've got kids in the room, players that are leaders in different ways. So obviously they're the ones that are selected to lead the team on and off the ice, but to give everybody a chance to be part of that group. So whether it's every day that you have meetings, you're inviting different people in and you're hearing what they have to say, or as we go on, depending on how long the process is, but at some point the leaders, we've allowed them to invite people in, players in that need to be in that meeting, that something's gone wrong. They're in a slump, they can't stop the puck, something's going on at home, their parents are bothering them, whatever it is, but they're invited into the meeting so that they have a say, they can be part of it. And usually with those meetings, what coaches are trying to get out of it is what's going on in the room. And from there, they're able to end up making some good judgment on where to go. And it's the players that will end up helping, not just the coaches. So in a roundabout, Wally, hopefully I've answered the question for you.
Barry, I thought of two things. First of all, Stacy, I would like to introduce Stacy. I'm going to get her to introduce herself if she would come on, if she can turn her speaker on. Hi, Stace.
Hi, Wally. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Just let everybody know who you are, what you do, and welcome to the, you don't have gray hair. Some of us have less, but most of us are white. So go ahead, Steve.
Hi, fellas and everyone on this call. My name's Stacy Colarossi. Recently appointed as the head coach of Carleton Ravens women's ice hockey team in U Sport, or formerly known as the CIS. Prior to that, this past year, I was fortunate to get a call from China Hockey, and I spent the year, or 9-10 months, over in China and Russia, working with their national program and taking them to the Olympic Games as the associate coach. Prior to that, Laurentian University started the program there, and from 2013 until the tragedy of them cutting their men's and women's hockey and swimming programs this past year over COVID, or 2 years ago now, I guess. And previous to that, I was fortunate for 9 years at York University to work under Dan Church and learn from him, and kind of develop myself as a coach, and I keep developing, but he definitely started my passion for this side of the game. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Stacy, for coming on. Barry, when you were talking about point number 3, and you have told us before the story of, I believe it was one of the Alberta Program of Excellent experiences where you had a list of captains and there were captains meetings. Can you elaborate on how that expanded and you made it more functional?
Well, part of a mentorship job is pretty neat, actually, because as long as you don't have an ego, and as long as you keep your eyes and ears open and listen, you're going to find out a lot of things that most are good, but obviously some need some tweaking. So and this was back in probably 2013. We were in Moose Jaw, and it was our under 16 program, and the coaches, we played a game and lost. The kids came back, it was late at night, so they all ate. And once they'd finished eating, the coaches said, okay, everybody to bed. We'll wake up call is at whatever time. And they gave the instructions, they did. And then they said, the leaders, do you want to stay in the room? So, and this is just after a loss. So anyways, 16 kids get up and leave, and heads are down and whatever else, they're not feeling good about themselves. And the 4 leaders stayed in the room. So they proceeded to go through the meeting, and the meeting went fine. But what I recognized from that point on is the importance of, it's not just about 4 kids, 4 leaders, 4 people on the team, or 1 captain or whatever, but it was important to be inclusive with everybody. They all need to feel that they're part of a leadership group. And the term I use, and I read it years ago reading a book, and I can't remember what it was, who had written it, but it was a bike racing program, and they talked about the same thing as the geese, where you had different leaders at different times. Everybody had a different role to play within that riding team, and it struck me back then the importance of, it can't be just one. Like you're buffalo and you get headed to a cliff, and if the leader goes over, they all follow. You can't be like that as a team. So all of that came to me that night, and I made a decision that, because I was in a place where I could try and do it and experiment with it, that I asked the staff after that night if we could start including others in the meeting. And so it sort of went from there, Wally. So it's now, like within all of our Team Alberta programs, I would assume that they all do it, because I asked the mentors that run each of our teams to end up, that's part of their process. And then once they make our provincial team, it ends up being the same thing. So to me, it's very helpful. You learn a lot about the players. Some of them are really quiet when they go in to start with, but they have a lot of good things to say. And they do open up over time. And especially when we created the opportunity for the leadership group to invite who they want to, as long as everybody gets to be part of that process. Because there's different times in an event, short term or club team over the year, that people are going through a lot of tough go. And so to be able to be part of that is a pick-me-up, and an opportunity for them to share their feelings and maybe what others on the team are feeling as well, that even the leadership group wouldn't get.
Barry, I'm curious about anybody else on board. Stacy, do you have leadership meetings with formal ones, or are they just informal?
Well, I don't know my leadership group yet to date, but in the past, we would try to have originally when I started my career early at Laurentian, we'd try to have formal leadership meetings, but quickly discovered that it was the informal meetings and the small discussions. They'd come in and check in, or after practice would come, just to ask anything really. And they'd all of a sudden come with two or three of them from the leadership group. We did carry a larger leadership group as we were forming our identity as a program. So two or three of them would come over, and before you know it, we were sitting down, and it was an hour and a half in, and they were just chatting, and all the goods came out at that point. And so through my process, we decided that they'd have to come over, but it was on their own time. It was open door policy.